Hello, and welcome to an intro to Anthro with two humans. I'm human number one, John McCray.
And I'm human number two, John Lehr.
And this is the podcast where we reassess what it means to be human. And the title of this episode is Sawing Logs and Hitting Hay, the Exhausting Labor of Sleep. So, John, the original title I had for this was sometimes when you hit the sack hits back, which I love, but I realized probably there was no way, once we got the actual title in, it would be just too long. And nobody would know what I was talking about.
It's not that much longer than the one you got, let's be honest. I mean, they're not, our subtitles are getting longer and longer, and the SEO department is concerned.
Well, it's very academic. Like if you look at on JSTOR or any of the academic, when you go on there and try to get some academic articles, they're very long titles.
Very. What's JSTOR?
JSTOR is just it's a site, it's a database that you can subscribe to. And they just have all kinds of academic articles on there.
Wow. Is it free?
No. It was free when I was a student, which was great because I was on there running off stuff all the time.
Right.
But now it's like I have to subscribe to it. So, but it's fantastic.
Wow. Okay. Is it expensive?
No.
Should we endorse them?
I would endorse JSTOR.
Yeah, endorse JSTOR.
Yeah, there's a few that are out there. A few like academic databases of journal articles and things like it. But I just love it. I love it. You can go in there. You can unlimited online articles that you could look at, and then for the downloads, you're limited to the downloads.
Wow, unbelievable, unbelievable.
But anyway, the point I was trying to make with the title was, it's hard to get a good night's sleep.
It seems to be. I mean, everybody I know, no one's getting a good night's sleep. You don't talk to people and they say they're getting a good night's sleep. I sleep well.
That is amazing to me that you sleep so well.
I know. I have so much. It is amazing.
Was it always that way, or was it after you did amends?
Yeah, I've always
it's
been my saving grace. I think it's the addict in me too, because I just want to escape. And I think that's part of it. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, I've always been a good sleeper.
Yeah. I would say the last really good night or good sleep I had since being sober was when I went for my colonoscopy.
Yeah. Oh, that's the good stuff. Yeah. Did you have the twilight or did they put you down full?
I think they put me down full, but it was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. I'm actually looking forward to my next colonoscopy. Oh. I don't want to seem too eager for it, but it's like that was so wonderful.
You should probably get one every 2 years.
Like I want to like every once a month or something, just to go and get that, be out for a few hours. But again, coming back to sleep, you would think something that we've been doing our entire lives, something that our ancestors did, millions of years, something that we do in the womb even.
Yeah.
You would think we'd be pretty good at it.
We can put a man on the moon, but we can't get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
What is wrong with us?
Yeah, it's very human. Like we can't exist without sleeping, and yet everybody's complaining about it.
Sleep is such a bizarre thing if you think about it. I mean, it's so bizarre that we just shut down and become totally vulnerable.
Right.
It's so weird.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. I mean, but it's like people, the complaints are, for example, they can't sleep. For example, you have insomnia. You keep waking up.
Yes.
Is another thing.
Yes.
People don't feel refreshed after they sleep, which I don't know if I ever felt. Do you feel refreshed after you get up from a sleep?
No, because I have to get up before I want to, and mornings are rough. That's where I pay the piper. It may be easy for me to fall asleep, but mornings suck for me. My brain just goes to horrible thoughts, about life and me, and it takes me like 2-3 cups of coffee
Yeah. Do
So,
you start up immediately thinking about the day, the problem before you get up, or do you lay there?
Yes. My brain is not my friend in the morning at all.
The other thing people complain about, they snore.
Mm-hmm. I
People
snore, apparently.
You snore?
Yeah, I snore. You.
I have it's a light snore, not all the time.
Huh.
I'm terribly afraid of being on a plane or something and snoring in front of other people. And
Why? Everybody does it. It's a human thing, and you don't even know you're doing it. So who cares?
Yeah, but it's something so I try to sleep with. I try to put my hand under my chin to hold it closed when I'm sleeping. And one time we were on a bus down in Cancun taking a tour, and the tour had been out all day, and we were coming back, and it was really late, and a bunch of people were like falling asleep, and like across the aisle there were these young women from Kansas, actually.
Oh boy.
But they had talked about they were hungover and they'd been out partying and all that, and they were just sleeping with their mouths just agape, you know what I mean? Just like hanging open.
That horrible. Yeah.
So I kind of, like, being the snob I am, I kind of like nudge Mary, like, hey, take a look at it. And then next thing I know, I'm nodding off.
Yeah.
And then I hear
That's the worst. Oh, I hate that feeling.
Yeah. I did it after I'd been like such a snob about everybody else. I had done like a
turns out you're a primate like the rest of us. Well, there's all kinds of mouthpieces and things, or people are taping their mouths shut now, and all kinds of stuff. And everybody's hooked up to one of those machines now.
Oh yeah, the CPAP. Everybody's got a CPAP.
Who isn't hooked up? I'm like the only guy in LA who's not hooked up to a CPAP, and I'm not kidding.
I've never done a CPAP. I know Mary was on a CPAP for a little bit that they were trying just to see for her sleeping, because she was having trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
And it ended up not being that she needed a CPAP, but she said it was horrible having that mask on.
Yeah. Really, everybody talks about it. But then there are the believers, the people who are like, oh my God, it's changed my life.
Yeah.
Everybody's going for a sleep test. Out here. Everybody's going to UCLA for a sleep test. I'm like, seriously?
Yeah. I was going to say there's all kinds of books to tell you how to sleep, special mattresses, noise cancellation headphones, pillows for your necks, pillows for between your legs. Weighted blanket. I have a weighted blanket.
My daughter has one, because I have that restless leg thing. That's the only thing that will keep me up for a bit. I'll have that, and she has it, and my brother has it.
See, I think it must be genetic, though.
It must be, or a genetic component.
Yeah,
but it's weird when you can't relax your legs. It's so bizarre.
You feel it. Do you feel it coming? Like, I always get like there's a tingling in the like lower back or something, and then all of a sudden it's just like a shock. A shock wave goes through one leg.
No, mine's totally different. Mine just feels like I can't relax. I just can't relax my legs. Like, truly, to the name, restless legs. You're restless. It's so bizarre.
How about melatonin? Do you ever?
I've tried it. I think I worked once, but my kids do every now and then. But it's not good to take a lot, I hear.
Really?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Who knows about anything
anymore? I know. And then what about the cocoon? Have you seen the cocoon? It's like a bag.
What?
It's like a baggie that you can crawl into and sleep inside the cocoon.
Oh, that would never work. Never work for me. My feet must be outside the blanket.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I have to have both feet.
Really?
Yeah, I get claustrophobic if I'm all wrapped up in there. I got to be able to go. Got to be able to go in case.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Anyway, in his book, Wild Nights, How Taming Sleep Created Our Restless World, Benjamin Rice says, despite all of the sleep-related medical, scientific, and technological advances over the past 2 centuries, and despite the billions of dollars being poured into what one journalist called the sleep industrial complex, which is what we're talking about, like all
amazing
the CPAPs and exams, sleep tests, and everything. Rice says there persists a nagging culture-wide anxiety that we're in the midst of a sleep crisis. and he says that a significant part of the contemporary obsession with sleep is the sense that we're somehow doing it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. And everybody talks about it. I mean, no matter what your age is, everybody. I don't sleep well. Nobody sleeps well.
Yeah, everybody's complaining about it. And I still keep coming back. How did we forget how to do it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So true. Well, I've been reading about this millionaire, who's spending all this money to stay young.
Yeah.
You familiar with this guy?
Yeah, well, we had an episode on there. Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah, on living longer, on dying.
Yeah.
And he has a sleep regimen that's really intense.
Yeah.
Like, of course. So he won't eat after 11 a.m.
Really?
He stops eating at 11 a.m. because that affected his sleep. He felt. And then he has a blackout room, and then it's precise amounts of time and all this stuff.
You live forever, man. But you're boring as hell.
Yeah, you live forever, but you're always talking. The only thing you can talk about is living forever.
I know, it's my nap time. I got to go in. Which, by the way, I've never really enjoyed sleeping. Like for my whole life, I've always I hate going to sleep. I like to stay up.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I used to stay up till 3 every morning reading.
Wow.
And then I'd go to sleep for 4 hours, get up, go to my job at the art museum, and then I'd come home and take a nap. I'm a big napper.
I love napping.
Yeah.
But it'll turn on you. The nap will turn on you. You never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, really? What do you mean by that?
Every now and then I wake up, I'm sure it has to do with REM cycles and everything, but I'll wake up just discombobulated.
Yeah. So I love that. I love that. In the middle of the day, it'd just be like, where am I? Where am I? What is it? Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't have anything to do the rest of the day, it's fantastic. But if you're taking a nap to kind of get yourself rested to go do something, like if you have to work at night or something, then it can turn on you. And then you're discombobulated.
Right.
But God, I love doing it.
I had Ancestry.com sent me a little teaser about the traits. Like I haven't paid for the, if you pay a little more money on Ancestry, they'll give you the traits. And they say that genetically, I'm more likely to be a napper than 80% of the population.
Whoa.
And I'm only 80%.
Jesus.
I'm napping all the time. It doesn't sound like very rigorous science. I don't know what they're...
No. No, there's not a lot. Rigorous science out there. If it's not on what is it?
JSTOR. JSTOR. JSTOR.
If it's not on JSTOR, I'm not buying it.
Well, it's apparently they looked at 650,000 people with similar genetics to me or something, and they all said that 20% of them said that they really liked napping. I think that's all the study.
That's it. All right.
But in an article titled 22 Famous Nappers, Restworks.com lists some of the people who have been notable nappers throughout history.
Churchill
was one of them. He was on the list.
I knew that.
Albert Einstein, Aristotle, Napoleon.
Oh.
Napoleon would take a little nap right before a battle. He'd just lay down and be like, little cat nap.
His naps didn't turn on yet, or maybe they did. He just used that. Maybe he was a bad napper, but it worked for him.
I just gave him right before the battle, general, mon general. He's laying down there on the rug or something, taking a nap. Leonardo da Vinci was a napper.
How do they know that?
I don't. He wrote about it or something. I don't know. Eleanor Roosevelt.
Okay.
John Kennedy, and then as far as artists and writers, Salvador Dali was on the list.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Dali, when I read about how he would nap, he just wanted a little tiny moment, like a millisecond turned off. So he would put a metal key in his hand and then close his eyes. And when he fell asleep and dropped the key, it would wake him up. So it was like instantaneous. You know what I mean?
So he wanted one of those, kind of things.
Yeah, immediately.
Jesus.
Stephen King, Haruki Murakami, and Jonathan Franzen are all novelists.
Wait a minute. King is a napper?
He said he was a napper.
Isn't he the guy who says, I write for 8 hours no matter what? When's he napping?
He says he takes a little nap after that to kind of get charged up again.
Well, okay. Now I'm doubting everything.
And then probably one of the most famous nappers was Harry Truman. Harry Truman from Independence, Missouri, outside of Kansas City.
Yes. He loved chili. That chili in Independence. What was that place?
Dixon's Chili. Was it Dixon's?
Yeah. Is it still around?
I don't know if Dixon's is. Maybe it's out. My dad used to always go to Dixon's.
I loved it. It's the weirdest thing in the world. You order chili and it comes on a plate. And it's dry. It just looks like hamburger. Chili. And then you add sauces or ketchup to it to turn it into chili. And it's amazing. It's incredibly good.
Yeah, I did. I remember my dad would always want to go there. We'd always be like, "Oh, Dixon's chili." And now I kind of miss it.
I loved it, man. I'm gonna just search that right now and see if we still got it.
But anyway, Truman, his thing, he would always take a nap, even when he was president, in his boxer shorts.
Oh,
he would always take it. He once said, and there's supposed to be a quote from Truman where he said, "It's not a proper nap unless you take your pants off."
I 100% agree. It turns out Truman and I have a lot in common. We both like Dixon's Chili, which, by the way, I just Googled it. It's still open.
Really?
So shout out to Dixon's Chili in Independence, Missouri. And I've got to have my pants off. But here's where I take it another level. I got to be naked as a jaybird.
No, completely. Or do you?
That's the way I sleep.
Shirt naked. Do you shirt cock it? Just the pants and boxer shorts, but you keep your shirt on?
No. I'm totally free. The way God made me.
For how long? For an hour and then 15-minute cat nap. Naked like a cat.
It depends what I've got. It depends. It doesn't happen very often.
In your car? At a library?
I can't sleep on a plane. Can't sleep sitting up. Can't do it.
You got your clothes on. I got
to have my clothes off, and I got to be laying down. I got to be horizontal and naked.
So anyway, I've heard for years, that quote from Harry Truman about napping and taking.
Yeah.
And I know there's certain things like Frank Sinatra used to always say, don't sit when you're wearing your suit pants because you would crease on them. So Sinatra would always stand up the whole time. He never would sit down.
That's amazing.
But I went to the Truman Library and searched napping and boxer shorts and everything, and I couldn't find it. So I'm leaving that out there. It's supposedly he said that, but I haven't been able to verify it for this.
Because this is a scientific program.
Right. But I will say one thing. My mother used to always say that it's not a proper nap unless you take your socks off.
No, I agree with that too. She's right about that. If I can't take my pants off, like let's say I'm at work, when I was working on a show, I'd be working long hours. Yeah. And they had a little cot in my office. And sometimes I would lay down there, but I'd take my socks off. Hell yeah. That's a good idea.
You can go back to your trailer and strip down for 10 minutes or something.
I didn't have a trailer because I was producing it. So I saved the money on a trailer and just had my office.
Yeah.
Because I was writing on it too. So.
But I was thinking, maybe there was a time in Kansas City when people would sit around and debate and argue about what made a proper nap.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can see people like,
whatever gets you into that REM sleep, that, that alpha state, whatever that is, or whatever it is that you're supposed to do, just do it.
Right. I will say I did find a report or an article talking about when in November 1st, 1950s, some Puerto Rican pro-independence nationalists tried to assassinate Harry Truman.
Yes, it's funny. I do know about this.
Yeah. And Truman was staying at the Blair house. He wasn't at the White House because the White House was being renovated. So they had put him up at the Blair house across the street.
Oh, man.
And at 2 p.m. on November 1st, 1950, they attacked the guards outside the Blair house. And people actually got killed. But in the reports, Harry Truman at 2 o'clock in the afternoon came to the window to see what was going on. And the reports say that he was in his boxer shorts.
Okay, there, done. That, I'm taking that.
Yeah, so I reverse researched it and found out a corroborating piece of evidence.
Well done. Well done. God, that's good. You've just added to the content that is all of our shared information. Thank you.
Right. So
he looked like the kind of guy who'd walk around in boxers, didn't he?
Yeah, with like garters on his socks or something, you know,
exactly.
Exactly. Like, but apparently he came out, he heard the shooting, he came out to the window and he was looking around and they were like, "Get down, they're trying to kill you."
Jesus.
Anyway, but I think it's safe to say that I'm in good company as a napper. We're in good company as nappers. Yeah, a lot of famous people have done it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that would be enough for us. Like if we were all stuck somewhere, you know, you, me, Da Vinci, Eleanor Roosevelt, we were all stuck at our parents' house or something over the holidays. I don't know if that would really, you know, bind us, but I think if one of us said like, "I'm going to go take a nap," the others would be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I understand."
Yeah. Well, you know, the Spaniards are the ones who, you know, invented it. It's like, I mean, it's regulated. Everybody shuts down.
A siesta. I love it.
Siesta. And so, of course, since the Spaniards conquered all of South America, there's a lot of siestas happening out there.
I know. I love the siesta. I'm all for the siesta.
Me too. People are like, "You can't get anything." I'm like, "Yup." So let's just take a nap.
Just go take a nap. I would say, John, we could. Have you ever played the game where somebody says, if you're having a dinner party, you can invite 3 other people? Who would it be? Okay. I think we could play that with who would you like to take a nap with? So what 3 people, living or dead, would you like to take a nap with?
Well, I'd go with you.
Okay.
I'd go with Truman.
Okay.
And I'd invite Eleanor.
And by the way, are you gonna like at least keep your boxers on since we're all in there together?
I'll put a blanket on, but my feet are gonna be sticking out from underneath it, and I'm gonna be naked. Yeah.
I was trying to think. For me, I think it would be Jesus, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Mark Twain.
He won't shut up. You're not going to take a nap with him.
That's what I want. I want to get him in there. Just and share. And if I could, I would try to sneak in Vincent Price as well.
Oh my God.
Just because I'd love to hear Vincent Price and Cher getting ready for their naps together. You know, all of us just laying there, just
but
talking.
You're not picking nappers. You don't know if those are nappers.
I think once you get in there, you know, we talk a little bit when we first laid down, but
you'd have faith that Cher would actually be able to put herself down. I don't know.
Well, Jesus is in there.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Jesus is
so anything's possible.
I think it would be, I have so many questions for Mark Twain.
Yeah, you two wouldn't shut up.
Yeah.
Nobody would be napping. Cher would be like, "Shut up."
I know.
You too?
I'd have to try to include Jesus because I feel like I would be talking to Mark Twain the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
and Jesus isn't somebody who's just going to insert himself into a conversation.
Yeah.
If you don't include him, he's just going to be quiet over there. But Cher would run the show. Cher would tell everybody what to do because she's a powerhouse.
I'm sure. Yeah. I bet she's a good napper. I bet she naps.
Yeah,
I don't know. I should ask my wife. I'll ask my wife.
Your wife would know.
And I was thinking too, John, we should pitch a show where we take naps with famous people.
That's a great idea. And then we just scan our brains and people can just look at the brain scans or something.
Yeah, yeah. Or it'd be like carpool karaoke. Only
except
like
we're sleeping.
Yeah, we come in, we talk to him for a little bit,
Yes.
Like Barack Obama. We have Barack Obama on. We talk a little bit, and then
it's time for a nap.
And then we all lay down together and take a nap. And then you just have the camera locked down on all of us from up above.
I love that idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that would be, first of all, you only have to write half of it. Because once we go to sleep, that's
but you'd
it.
be all paranoid about your snoring. You wouldn't be able to go down. I'd go out like a light.
Yeah. You pants off, clothes off.
Good night, you guys. Cold pillow. Good night.
Me and Obama would still be talking over there.
Yeah. Then I wouldn't be able to sleep. And I'd be like, shut up, you two.
Yeah.
It's nap time.
Yeah. I don't know what I would do. I would be a little embarrassed about it. But you'd think we'd come up with something. Maybe some tape. Some flesh
people tape their mouth shut. They do that. There are people who tape.
Wow.
It's a thing.
For snoring or why?
Yeah. And just better sleep because you get better oxygen, I guess, through your nostrils. No, this is all hearsay.
Yeah.
Not proven at all. But,
What type of tape?
It'd have to be duct.
Duct tape?
Duct tape. You got to go duct. What else are you going to do? Yeah. Carpet?
Gorilla tape? Gorilla tape?
Gorilla tape. I wouldn't recommend that. You're going to have some residual. I mean, I do recommend Gorilla Tape, just not for your mouth.
Yeah. You see people coming to work and like half their mustache is gone.
Yeah.
you know what's happening. You know what's happening.
Yeah, you got to be clean shaven if you're going to go the tape route.
Yeah.
That's just
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Maybe we could have it. We could have an assistant. We'd have somebody's job would be just to keep an eye on me. If I do a snort, they'll go over there and poke me with a stick or something.
Yeah, I don't want you with the snort waking me and Obama up, though. Once we go down, I don't want you waking us up with a snort.
Yeah. I think I'd be okay. I'll sleep on my stomach. That's what
that's what they all say. Then they roll over.
Yeah. Anyway, John, so today we're going to be talking about sleep, which we have been doing, and why it's so important to humans, and also why it's so hard for humans to get a good night's sleep these days.
God, good. Finally, we're touching on something that's going to be helpful to the world.
Yeah, but practical research, something we can you market and sell.
This is much more practical than the episode on making stone tools.
Yeah, this one we can actually we'll put this out and we'll have our own guide to good sleep or something like that, and we'll try to
that's good.
It comes with a roll of electrical tape.
I'll have AI write it. I'll have it done by the end of the podcast.
I was going to say, John, the challenge is for us in this episode is going to be to keep it lively and interesting so that while we're talking about sleep, we don't actually put the audience to sleep.
Oh, well, I'd be happy if we put them to sleep. That's fine. Yeah. If they need a sleep, they should do it.
If you're driving, please don't. Please don't.
Over.
Yeah.
And we'll put you to sleep.
When you edit this, try to put some massage music behind it or something.
Okay. Well, all I have is this. So
that's not going to work.
That's not going to help.
That's probably why you have a restless leg. That thing is like.
Yeah.
But as you and I both know, and we've discussed before on shows, it's awful as a performer to look out into the audience and see somebody asleep.
Yeah, just to say it again, everybody.
Yeah.
Those are real people on stage. It's not a movie. And guess what? They can see you. And they do. Everybody sees everything.
Yeah.
Everybody, you see everything and we see everything.
And you can see the procedure. You can see all the way out the mezzanine. You can see out all the way.
All the way.
Yeah.
My father-in-law falls asleep every single time he comes to watch me perform. And he tries to be supportive and sits up front.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, but we don't talk about it. I mean, if he hears this, he'll hear it. But I don't bring it up to him because I don't want to embarrass him. But it's every single time.
That's awful.
Just awful.
Does he tell how much he loved the show afterwards? It's like even doubly wrong.
But I try to end that kind of conversation quickly because I don't want to be a part of his. Because I know he would be lying, and
you don't grill him on it. Well, what did I talk about? What did I talk about? What part did you like? What part did you like?
It just makes me want to just throw it all out. Look, Carl, let's stop with this.
Let's just be honest.
This facade.
Also, you and I we each taught school. And the same thing with teaching school. Like every teacher wants to be Robin Williams in Dead Poets Society.
Yeah. And they're not.
No. Yeah. And when you look out there, I have to say it even hurts when you think that you're really giving it to the kids.
Yeah.
All kinds of good information. You look out and some guy just got his head down on his desk.
Yeah. I don't know why, but that didn't bother me as much as on stage. But I was a substitute teacher for most of my teaching career.
Yeah. You wanted to put your head down.
Yeah.
You wanted to go
let's all take a nap.
Yeah. I always, even teaching college, there'd be like, you'd be up there and you'd be writing something or really getting into it, like getting down to the meat of the problem, and just look out and just see somebody with their head like completely back.
Keeps
mouth open.
Keeps your ego in check.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the history of sleep, and then we'll get into the physiology and psychology of it.
Sounds good, Professor. Let's do it.
And the first thing we're going to look at is, did humans always sleep at night? And in his book, At Day's Close, A History of Nighttime, the historian A. Roger Ekirch says that if you go back far in the Ekirch, Ekirch, Ekirch.
Ekirch.
Says that if you go back far enough, there was probably a time when our distant hominin ancestors slept whenever they wanted to, at whatever time of day the group needed rest.
Oh, look at and we're evolution.
Yeah. Now look at us.
Look at us.
And then Ekirch says it was probably safer, especially if you were a 4-foot-tall primate that couldn't see very well in the dark, to hunt and forage during the day when you could see predators and other dangers, than to try to get someplace safe afterwards at night.
Yeah, makes sense.
Like a cave, when predators like lions and wolves usually go out to do their hunting.
Yeah.
So even though it just kind of, even though we probably slept whenever we wanted to begin with, I think after you lose enough members of your group, you just realize, hey, maybe we should stay in at night. You know what I mean? And Ekirch, he quotes Stanley Coren, who said, "Man slept through the dark hours because it was too inefficient and too dangerous to do anything else."
Okay, I buy that.
And I would say, anybody who's been camping and you get up in the middle of the night and you forget your headlamp or your flashlight and you try to go out to the bathroom.
Yeah. Ooh, it's scary. It's scary.
And you realize how dangerous it is. You're tripping over everything, and you're running into the guy line.
You're this, and you're sitting pretty. You're just a sitting duck.
Yeah. And it's always like you could go back and get the headlamp, but you're like, no, I'm already out here. I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. Well, now wait a minute. You don't walk all the way up to the bathrooms, do you?
No.
Okay.
But you try to get away so that you're not like right outside the tent or something.
Yeah.
I'm out in the desert. Like you pee out in the desert. Everybody knows where you peed.
They'll see it in the morning. But whenever you're peeing at a campsite, do you ever think, God, how many people have peed all over this place?
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost, I don't want to touch anything.
For thousands of years, we've been peeing in this spot.
We finally got the portable toilet with the like shower thing that goes around it, so it doubles as a shower as well.
Oh my goodness!
So it's pretty nice. I don't have to go up all the way.
Oh, that's nice. Very nice.
But as you know,
button or you're taking a shower in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that would be awful. But the thing is, as humans, we have no color vision at night.
Yeah.
everything just turns into grays,
Yeah.
white and gray or black
The
and
visual
gray.
spectrum gets very narrow. I mean,
Right.
we don't have, infrared, none of it. We can't pick up
Right.
anything.
Right. And other animals do have.
Yes, they do.
They have like the ability, like the light is reflected back on their retina to where they can
Yes.
see in low light.
Owls can see
Yeah.
anything. And then they
And-
fly silently. They're killing machines.
And then also our hearing isn't very good at
What?
night.
Okay.
Hit it, the rim shot.
I gotta have it.
Yeah. There we go.
Sorry.
But anyway, and again, when you're camping, you hear things outside and they sound like they're really close or they sound like they're really big.
Woo.
But you can't tell where they're at.
When
we
someone
don't have
comes by sniffing by your tent.
Oh,
that's scary.
Yeah,
it's a coyote or something. You don't know. You don't know what it is.
Right. So our prehistoric hominin ancestors must have realized, hey, let's just forget about going out at night. We'll go out during the day when we can at least see things. And Ekirch says that sleep made nighttime seem both shorter and safer for people.
Yeah. Okay.
And Guy Leschziner, in his book, The Nocturnal Brain, Nightmares, Neuroscience, and the Secret World of Sleep, says, to be awake and foraging when it is light and we can see prey and predators, and to sleep when it is dark and we are vulnerable to predation, seems crucial to our survival.
Right. So people who were better at sleeping at night survived, and over time, that became wired into us.
Right. Exactly. And Ekirch says that night was man's first necessary evil, our oldest and most haunting terror. So it might have something to do with the fact of that
it gets dark.
Yeah. And we need to stay in. We need to stay in because of this.
So weird.
Yeah,
because it's so weird now that I'm thinking about it. It's so weird.
Like the predators are out there at night. You know what I mean? And suddenly we took that and then it became, Ekirch says, night was the time of spirits, ghosts, and demons.
God damn right.
and even when people moved into towns, there were still dangers out there after dark.
Yeah.
And even in towns and cities, we think in towns and cities now that we have street lamps and there's stores and there's lights out there. But for, up until the late 1800s, it was extremely dark, even in cities.
Amazing.
And because there was no artificial light,
Wow.
And if we think about how dark the world was, and it just became dangerous even to be out walking in cities after dark.
Yeah, of course. Jack the Ripper.
Yeah. And then we talk about, you had open stairways out there, you had potholes, you had, cobblestone streets that people would trip over. And we've talked about in other episodes about people just throwing their chamber pots out the window.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Poop. There's a lot of poop out there.
Yeah. So you would just be walking around in the dark, no telling what you were stepping in.
Yeah. No point in going out there in the dark. Yeah. None. Zero.
And the other thing you had to watch out for were thieves.
Yeah.
And Ekirch says that urban robberies, with few exceptions, were common throughout Europe. And in some cities, thieves trip their victims by stretching ropes across narrow streets.
Smart. Jesus.
I mean, you're walking along and a bunch of thieves just pull up the rope and trip you and then run up and take your wallet and run off.
God.
But that's how dark it was. You wouldn't have seen the rope being pulled up in front of you.
Right.
And a 1585 dictionary defined thieves as felons, quote, that sleepeth by day, that they may stealeth by night.
The pirate life.
I know.
Yes.
You sleep in during the day and you go out at night. And John, remember when we did the improv group, did a show at the Remains?
Yes, the Remains Theater in Chicago.
Right. And remember, the show would go up at 11 o'clock on a Friday night
Yes.
and midnight on a Saturday night.
Saturday.
Yeah.
And so we'd get off around 2:30, and then we'd party. Because the show was killing. We were sold out at those hours. Can you believe that?
I know. That's crazy.
Crazy. And then we'd party until, I don't know. I was partying until.
Yeah.
And you were too, I know.
Yeah. And then you sleep an hour and go to work the next day.
Yes. And then I'd take a nap. I'd come home, I'd teach.
Yeah.
And then I'd come home at 3 and get a nap and do it all over again.
Yeah, I know.
God, those were good times.
They were. I think about that now and try to think of like, could I possibly do that again? And I'm not sure if I could do it again. But I think the thing is, at night, because you get used to being out after dark.
Yeah.
And I remember too in Chicago when I got sober, I would wake up in the middle of the night, as people do when they're getting sober, and your mind's racing.
Yeah.
And I just go out walking. At like 1 in the morning, I just walk and walk just to kind of until I got so tired I had to go back and sleep.
Uh-huh.
And it's a different world. It's a
Yes,
different world at night.
Well, I worked a graveyard shift for a while. And
Did
so
you?
when you turn your day upside down like that, there's a whole population of the city who work or play or steal at that hour. And it's a very different world than we live in during the day. Very different.
Yeah. And Ekirch says that what people in cities feared the most back in the Middle Ages were home invasions at night.
Jesus.
And while everyone was asleep. And he says that the thieves known as smudges or night sneaks would get into people's houses during the day and hide.
Oh, Jesus.
Sometimes under the bed.
Oh!
And then once everybody went to sleep, they would come out and either like rob the people themselves or go unbar the door.
Right.
And let other people in to come in and rob.
You'd have some street urchin kid hide in there all day.
Yeah. Isn't that awful? Isn't that awful?
Oh, God.
And Ekirch says that the term, quote, "the coal is at snooze," was street slang for a sleeping target. So the coal is at snooze.
You see that guy? The coal is at snooze.
Yeah, come on.
What? What do you mean coal is at snooze? But that doesn't make sense. What are you trying to tell me? We're going to rob somebody. Shut up.
Yeah.
Snooze.
The coal is at snooze.
Can we get a different, I'd be the worst in a gang like that. I'd be, coal is at snooze. Why do you keep saying that?
What's a coal? What's a coal?
Ebenezer, let me ask you something. You keep saying coal is at snooze.
Shut up.
Don't
scream
if everybody knows it, then let's just say we're going to rob them.
Forget it.
You're out.
Somebody else. But my little brother's stuck in there right now. But anyway, for much of our history, nighttime wasn't very pleasant for people. It was a scary time for people.
Yeah.
And the common term for nightfall for a long time was shutting in.
Yeah.
Meaning that you would get inside and you'd want to bar your doors.
Yeah, you would.
And everything closed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reminded of, the movies back in the 70s and 80s, whenever they would show, there was a common joke of somebody living in New York in an apartment, and they would have like 10 deadbolts. You know what I mean? And a bar across the door and everything.
But that's true. A lot of them do have it. Like I stayed in an apartment in New York where they had like I don't know what you call it, the bar that connects and goes down into the floor.
Yeah. A police lock.
That.
I think they call that, like a police lock or something.
Oh, man.
And then also in Venice, when I lived in Venice and you lived in Venice as well, there was a time after dark, Venice was like completely changed.
Oh, yeah.
And you wanted to like, if you had to be out after dark or go down to the liquor store, you wanted to be running home, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, because Venice is a 3-car accident. You've got tourists, you've got the wealthier people who can live right on the ocean, and then you've got the projects, which are right there. So that's why Venice is such a fascinating place. But it's sort of like Hollywood Boulevard. Everybody who comes to LA goes to Venice and Hollywood Boulevard, which really are probably two of the skankier neighborhoods.
Right.
in LA.
Yeah. Or at least, I don't know what Venice is like now, but I think out by the beach, it's always going to be.
Oh, now it's worse because everybody's stoned. Now that it's legal, everybody's stoned. Every single person.
It was, people would always want to go out to the beach at night, and I'd be like, you got to watch it out at the beach at night. That's where people get stabbed and robbed out at the beach at night.
Why don't you just stay inside and help me get the police lock up?
Yeah, it's like, this isn't Hawaii. This isn't some resort in Hawaii. This is Venice. You know what I mean? And Benjamin Rice says, shelter is an obvious human need, one that grows most intense during slumber. So when we're asleep. And he says, our defenses are down.
Yeah.
Our responsiveness to stimuli dramatically reduced.
Yeah.
And our need for protection, therefore, increased.
Yeah. We're all vampires, and somebody could just come right in and pound a stake to our hearts.
Right. And apparently he mentions that, other species have ways of dealing with it. Like ducks will all sleep in a row. And apparently dolphins and whales sleep with just half of their brain.
Wow.
So they need to keep the other half to be alert, but also to keep going up to the surface.
I once found my son when he was young. He was sleeping with his eyes open.
Oh, no,
freaked me out.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was dead, because every parent, that's the first thing you go to on anything that's strange. Oh my God. But then I realized, oh my God, he's asleep. It was the weirdest thing. I've never seen him do it again. But
yeah, that's what they talk about. That's kind of like the night terrors or something, where parts of your brain are still active and parts are fast asleep. So it's like not your whole brain going to sleep. And sleepwalkers are in that way too, that like part of the frontal part of the brain is awake, and yet the deep part, the sleep part, is still asleep, but they're up. Like,
our friend Frank, sorry to interrupt, our friend Frank, who was a fan of the show.
Yeah.
He once, my mom was sleeping on the couch. She was sick, and she was sleeping on the couch, and we were sleeping downstairs, and all of a sudden, Frank walks into the living room, and he's over in the corner, and he's starting to unzip his pants. Looks like he's going to go to the bathroom. Oh, no. And my mom wakes up, and my mom is like, sees him and goes, Frank, you okay?
Yeah.
And he wasn't there. And like, she kind of guided him back downstairs, and he went back to sleep downstairs.
Really?
Or she guided him to the bathroom, maybe. I don't know what she did, but yeah.
I always had the urge to go to the bathroom in that corner of your house as well. We're like cats. Once you smell it, everybody goes there. And then the parrotfish apparently secretes a packet of foul-tasting slime around its body when it goes to
God!
to keep predators away from it when it's sleeping.
All right. Well, whatever gets you through the night, right?
Yeah. And Rice says human defenses against vulnerability of sleep have involved more complicated controls, caves at first, but now locked homes, alarm and surveillance systems, police to protect against threats to physical safety, and a host of sanitary measures to make sleep restorative rather than unhealthful.
Yeah, I would add to that list a dog. Dog. That's what dogs are for.
Yeah.
To watch the house while you're asleep, because they will wake up at any noise.
Do yours? Mine would always be like fast asleep.
Who, Franz?
Franz and Bianca, they'd be up in bed with us, fast asleep, and Mary'd be waking. Me too, and Mary'd be waking us up like, I heard something. We'd all be like fast asleep.
But most, like a dog, my dog Earl he'll wake up.
So anyway, once we were locked inside our homes, what did our sleep look like historically? And unless you were wealthy up until the 19th century, there would probably be a lot of us sleeping in the same room.
Yeah.
If not the same bed. A lot of it would be in the same bed.
Yeah.
And even if we were traveling, it was common for strangers to share beds at an inn.
Hello. Yeah. Yeah. That's the first thing that you've said that's made me want to live in the past.
Complete stranger.
Hi.
Yeah. Can you imagine that nowadays? Even at like a youth hostel, like you still have your own space or something, your own
Uh-huh.
bed or what. But the fact that we'd all be in the same bed with a bunch of
Oh.
strangers, And Ekirch
But they were
says that,
all drunk. Keep that in mind.
yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
was drunk.
You had to be. You were sleeping with a stranger. Like,
Yeah,
no telling
life was miserable, so everybody
Yeah.
was drunk.
Ekirch says that in Ireland and Scotland, entire families slept upon earthen floors strewn with rushes, straw, and heather.
Yeah.
And a visitor in the 1600s to Ireland wrote, "There's generally one flock bed, flock being just like some, maybe some fluffy stuff or like sawdust or something thrown in there. Seldom more, feathers being too costly. This serves the man and his wife. The rest all lie on straw, some with one sheet and blanket, others only their clothes and blankets to cover them."
Yeah, it's doable. It's doable. It's not, what we do now, but it's, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever slept outside?
No. You talk about falling asleep outside, right? I could always usually make it home, or at least crash at somebody's house.
Yeah. Yeah, back when I was drinking, I would occasionally wake up on somebody's front lawn. But I wouldn't call that sleeping outdoors, It's not like sleeping under the straw.
Not like camping. It wasn't like camping.
No, it was just running out of steam.
Were you conscious when you went down? Do you think that you like, hey, I'm going to take
and then wake up, and I'd been there for, morning. The sun would wake me up.
What was the time, and maybe you don't want to talk, what was the time when you fell asleep at the farmer's market?
Oh, yeah. That was towards the end of my drinking.
Yeah.
There was a farmer's market is a kind of early shopping center here in Los Angeles. And there was a bar there that I frequented, and I somehow woke up in the nuts stall. There were stalls that sold different things, right? And this one was the mixed nut stall. And I woke up behind the nut stall with like nut stuff stuck to my face.
It's like falling asleep behind under the bleachers at a football game.
Exactly.
We're at the movie theater, falling asleep at a movie theater.
Yeah, the problem with that was I was driving a Volvo at the time.
Yeah.
An old one, like a 66 Volvo. And the parking lot was locked, but I knew on the other side of the farmer's market, there was a parking lot that wasn't locked. It was broken.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, should I try to get my car? Because my car was so narrow.
Right.
I thought that I could get it in and drive through the farmer's market. And if you've ever been to the farmer's market, you're like, oh my God, you idiot. But yeah.
Did it work? Were you able to get it?
I got it through. I drove out the other side and was on my way.
Not going to hold you down.
Like I said, there's a lot that happens at night.
Just some janitor at the farmer's market looking up and just seeing a car come driving through.
Look at that dipshit.
Back the bar, past the barbecue stall. Candied apples, everything.
Yep. The funnel cake place.
Just shifted into second.
Taking it right through.
But anyway, it was very common for people to sleep more than one to a bed. And I guess there was a common term in England at the time, to pig. To pig meant sleeping with one or more bedfellows.
Aw.
Isn't that nice?
Hey, you want a pig tonight? Sure. Yeah, but the coal is, what is it? The coal is...
the coal is at snooze.
Yeah, I'll pig, but the coal is at snooze.
In Irish households, an early 19th century observer recorded, they lie down decently and in order, the eldest daughter next to the wall farthest from the door. Then all the sisters according to their ages, next the mother, father, and sons in succession, and then the strangers. So you would all be like, okay, it's time to bed. Everybody line up, and we go with.
It makes sense, because the only reason you have a second kid is if the first one dies, that you have another one, a replacement.
Well, they would. The idea was like if you put your oldest daughter, she's farthest away from the stranger. They're trying to keep
exactly. Nobody's stupid.
Nobody's going to have to crawl. You'd have to crawl over the mother, father, all the little brothers, sisters, big brothers.
You may be pigging, but you're not pigging with my oldest daughter.
Right. Exactly.
I'm not a jackass.
In the 15th and 17th centuries, Ekirch says European beds went from straw pallets on earthen floors to wooden frames, complete with pillows, sheets, blankets, and flock mattresses. And there was a time when a family's bed was probably the most important piece of furniture that they owned.
Wow, I'm down with that.
Yeah,
although it's wasted on me because I can sleep on almost anything.
Really? As we've learned.
Yeah, you could put me on the floor, I'd be fine.
Just throw some peanuts down on the ground, and you're happy.
Just with my prayer hands under my cheek.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night, everybody. Where's that bird seed? I'm getting tired. And they say that beds at one time represented 1/3 of the value of all domestic assets.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, a car, that we've replaced that with a car, right?
Yeah.
Isn't the car
I'd much rather have a bed. Actually, if I had to spend money on it, I'd much rather spend it on a bed.
God, it's buying a mattress is such a ripoff.
Yeah.
God,
we need to buy some. Yeah, we need to buy some.
Oh, they just get ripped. They're all scam artists.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's tough out there.
What's up? You're in the shop right now. Do you ever?
She doesn't sell beds. She sells couches. There's lots of places to sleep in here, but but it's way too expensive. Yeah. By the way, I'm broadcasting from my wife's store, Oxford House Projects.
Right.
OxfordHouseProjects.com. Give them a little shout out since they're allowing me to broadcast.
Yeah, we should. Maybe we should have a slumber party down there sometime.
Yeah, and do a remote.
Yeah,
we could do a live remote in the middle of the night. Boy, you do not want to be down here on Hollywood Boulevard in the middle of the night. Well, although it's fascinating, it's part of what I love about LA. It's just it's the mayhem. It's just the complete chaos and mayhem. Like out, when I open the store, occasionally my wife needs me to do it. I'll come out, it'll be like 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Oh my God. Hollywood Boulevard there's casualties everywhere.
Oh, no. What do you mean? What?
Oh, and I'm not talking just about the homeless. There's people who were just all kinds of crazy stuff. I pulled up just this Saturday. Was that yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. And there was a guy in the parking lot. Now, they have a gated, locked parking lot.
Yeah.
So somehow he'd gotten in there. Who knows how? Still really drunk, swaying. But he was dressed, he had a job somewhere.
But he was locked in the parking lot.
He somehow gotten himself locked in the parking lot. And he was way too drunk to get himself out.
Oh my
I think
God.
there's a bar down the street. So I think he must have somehow been thrown out or walked out the back door of the bar or thought it was the front door.
Yeah. I would say, you know what he needed? If you're going to drink like that and stay out late, you need to get one of those bicycle lamps on there that flashes so that security guards will know if you're in the parking lot before they lock. Or like
right. You need to be wearing a sign.
Or like
I'm a blackout drinker.
Just put a bell on.
Yeah,
so they know you're in there.
You're absolutely right. You need some sort of, have those hats that have a big cop flasher on it that spin?
Yeah.
Okay, you need one of those.
It's for your own safety. Yeah. As people who have done this, we're telling you, please.
There was another guy over here by the liquor store who was up and had a glass pipe in his hand.
Yeah.
So he was smoking meth, but he was not homeless. And I know what's going on. He was just out on a meth, run.
Right.
Oh my God. It's just,
he was probably he was a mattress salesman.
But But then you have people running and jogging,
Yeah.
and you have Saturday mornings on Hollywood Boulevard are incredible.
Really, we need
Highly
to do
recommend.
We need to just get some. We'll get some, folding chairs. Sit out there and do a live broadcast as people come
we
by.
would be really entertained.
Yeah.
Because there was also a line for the weed store that opened up at 10, and there was a line of people that ran out of weed and needed to wake and bake.
Yeah.
And this is a high-end, there's pretty high-end weed store. So
Yeah.
it's people, who work during the week.
Wow.
It's crazy out here.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. LA is amazing.
Yeah. I loved LA. I love it. I still love LA. I don't think I could afford to live in LA anymore, but at the time I lived in LA. Yeah.
Nobody can. Even the millionaires can.
So, John, other bedtime rituals that people would go through at the time, Ekirch says, in preparation for sleep, families engaged in hunts of furniture and bedding for both fleas and bed bugs.
Ugh.
Lice needed to be combed from hair and picked from clothing and skin. So we forget, before we would go to bed, we would basically be grooming each other, trying to take out all the
bed bugs. I've never had bed bugs. Have you?
Never had them.
God, so. I'm scared.
Yeah,
I travel a lot, and I hear their hotels are infested and stuff.
Yeah,
never had them.
I think we're in an infestation of bed. I don't know. It seems like people are really talking about them a lot.
Yeah.
And then the other thing people would do to keep gnats at bay, families in the Fen country of East Anglia and England hung lumps of cow dung at the foot of their beds.
What?
So you would put...
To keep the bugs away?
Yeah, but to keep the bugs from landing on you,
they would go right to the cow dung.
Right.
Oh my God. Scratch what I said. Pigging ain't worth it. I'm not going back in time. If we ever invent the technology.
Isn't that awful? You'd have to hang up some cow shit at the end of your bed. So what time did people go to bed back then? Well, without artificial lights to read by and without TV or cell phones or computers, most people would go to bed right after the sun went down.
Yeah.
And again, going back to camping, do you stay up late when you go camping?
Oh, God, no. When it's 9:00, it feels like 3 a.m. when you're camping.
No,
I'm exhausted.
Me too.
But then you wake up at dawn.
Yeah. And there's something I'd like, even if you stay up near the fire, by the time you go to bed, it's only like 9:30.
Right. The people who are staying up late.
Yeah. But once you went to bed, you probably, since you were pigging with your, family members or visitors, you'd probably stay up because you'd stay up talking for a little bit.
A little bit. But I remember, we'd have kids. We'd all sleep in the same tent. Hudson once projectile vomited inside our tent.
Oh, God.
And we were at a school camp out. And Jennifer and Jules just immediately got up and bailed. They bailed and went to find another tent to sleep in.
Yeah.
And so I was left with Hudson and to clean up everything.
Oh, God. Could you save the tent or did you have to get it?
Yeah, we saved the tent.
Really?
I couldn't believe it. People came from all walks of life to give me cleaning supplies and paper towels. And it was amazing.
It really came together. It was like a barn raising. It
was like back in the day whenever. Yes, exactly. Yeah. They helped me clean the vomit. It was like barn raising.
His kid threw up in his tent.
Everybody felt so bad for me.
And then, John, there was something that was interesting, though. Even though people went to bed early, throughout history, up until like the late 1800s, people did something that was called segmented sleep. And what would happen is you would sleep in 2 different segments divided by a little period of wakefulness. And those were called like the first sleep and the second sleep.
Wow.
So you go to bed, sleep for about 4 hours, and then wake up, and then you'd be up for about an hour or 2, and you'd either lay in bed just thinking about life, or some people would even get up and do chores at that time.
How would they wake up? Who would wake up?
You just wake up naturally. Yeah, so, and they've done experiments. The National Institute of Mental Health did experiments where they replicated what it was like, sleeping was like before all the electronic devices and before artificial light. And people would do that. They would, after a while, they would go to sleep for about 4 hours,
And you
then
just
wake
get
up.
used to it.
Yeah. And there was this period of wakefulness, of reflection or wakefulness, they called it. And then you go back to sleep for about another 4 hours before you finally woke up.
That's weird. Well, you know, there's a lot of these people who are so consumed with being efficient and whatnot that'll say you do it in 12-minute increments, or I've heard all kinds of things.
Yeah,
crazy stuff.
Yeah,
to me, it sounds crazy.
But what caused it to change was artificial light.
Yeah.
And so anyway, when you come up with artificial light towards the end of the 1800s, or even before that with like gas lamps and everything, people could suddenly go out later. So you could go out to the theater, you could go out to the pub, you could, you could stay up and like play cards or read or something.
Yeah. Now it's on.
Yeah.
Now we're getting to the real pigging. Right. Now. Yeah.
Right. And so that period, that first period of sleep, that first sleep, kept getting pushed back farther.
Yeah.
So, and then after a while, it was just gone. You know what I mean? People would push back that period to where, if I'm going to bed at midnight, then I don't really need to have my first period of sleep and then get up at midnight for a couple hours and then go back to sleep.
Wake up at 10 or 9.
Right.
Especially considering, yes, once again, we should point out they were all drunk. Everybody was drunk.
Right. Exactly. And the other thing that came about because of artificial lighting was separate bedrooms for kids. Because once parents could stay up a little bit later and kind of do stuff. And
wow. So it's the art of, so the invention of the light bulb, really. I mean, I know you said gaslight. But the invention of the light bulb, man, it just really, I mean, I guess it's obvious that it changed our culture, but I mean, it's interesting how it changed our sleep. That's very interesting.
Yeah. Like the whole way we did it. And then also you had the kids going off to their own bedrooms. And then that's where you have the regimen of like, kids have to go, they have their bedtimes. And it was essentially for parents to stay up and take advantage of that artificial light.
Do some pigging. Yeah. You know,
and the other thing that affected our sleep over time was industrialization.
Okay,
and it came up with, if you have factories, then suddenly you couldn't have everybody just going on their own schedule and sleeping whenever they wanted.
Right. Now you've got the swing shift. Now you've got the graveyard. Now you've got Yeah.
And so our sleep became very regimented because of business.
Yes, because the factory has to keep rolling. That's
24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And Benjamin Rice says what we now think of as time is largely an invention of the industrial age. And he said that factories and the economic system that grew around them in the 19th century depended on disconnecting workers' sense of time from the natural rhythms of day changing into night and season into season. So it was like, and what he also says is a lot of the early sleep research was funded by businesses, by factories. In other words, trying to figure out a way to make people show up on time, be refreshed, and be able to
get the most out of them.
Right. Be able to do their job.
Well, isn't that coffee's history too? Like coffee really was made widely available because it improved efficiency.
Yeah, and like prayers and stuff. It was like trying to keep people keep people awake.
Yep. Okay.
And then John, just one thing I want to touch on before we end is I want to talk about yawning.
Yes. Good. Oh, I'm so happy that we're doing this podcast. I'm getting so much out of it.
Yeah. And it's one thing I learned when I was researching this episode on sleep was we really don't know that much about sleep.
No.
You would think we know about sleep, but we really don't know very much about sleep. And there's still a lot of mystery.
A lot.
Yeah.
We think we know a lot. If you go online, you think everybody knows everything about sleeping. But we really don't.
We still don't even know like what the purpose of sleep is. And people will talk about, well, it's for your body to, repair itself. But it's like people ask, well, what exactly is it doing during that time?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I found like a really good article about some research that was done in 2019 that talked about criticality. And criticality in physics is like when you reach a point, it's between chaos and order, like that point where everything's humming along right before the wheels go off. And you try to keep a machine, or you try to keep a system running right before the wheels go off, because that's the most optimum level to be.
Right.
And they've done, I think it was Washington University in St. Louis did some tests where they looked at rats and they monitored the neurological, just the neurology of rats and the neural activity of rats. And they realized that they could see, like, as the rat was awake for longer, his neural activity began to become more simplified.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, it was being pushed away from criticality.
Yes.
By being awake.
Anybody who's pulled an all-nighter for an exam knows that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they could even, looking at the neurological activity of the rat, they could tell when the rat was getting ready to go to sleep, for example.
But that still doesn't answer the question for me, is why sleep? Why isn't it? Why?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know.
It probably does a few things, but their point was sleep is a way to push the brain back to criticality. In other words, it's like a computer system, and we need to clear the cache on it.
Absolutely. I mean, anybody who saw The Matrix 3 knows that. When Neo, his body is in a coma, but he's still inside the Matrix, but he's not connected to the Matrix.
Right.
So when they finally connect his consciousness with his body, he needs a little bit. He says to everybody, I gotta go. And he goes and takes a few minutes to get himself together. Or some hours, I think. It's exhausting.
Only hours.
Yeah, then he's fine.
Give me a moment,
he gets his
everybody.
eyes burned out, and then, we think he dies, but, they resurrected him because they needed more money.
Yeah.
Shot another feature.
So just real quick, John, let's talk about yawning. I brought it up already. Okay. And the thing is, too, we don't know why we yawn. We don't know the exact reason why we yawn.
I always thought it was to get more oxygen, or it was a sign that you needed more oxygen.
They disproved that because they tested the amount of oxygen before and after yawning, and there was no change in people.
So what the fuck do we do it for then?
Well, that's the whole thing. It's in the article Yawning and Its Physiological Significance. About the only thing we know about it, Gupta and Shallu Mittal say, is that yawning is contagious.
Yes, which is so cool. So maybe it's a part of communication that we should all take a nap. So like when it's you, me, and Obama, we should all start yawning, get all three of us yawning, and then lay down.
Right. And that's what they say. They say seeing, hearing, reading, or even thinking about yawning can trigger yawns.
Yeah, I'm getting tired right now. I'm getting a little sleepy.
That's the game we're playing right now, because we're going to keep talking about yawning and see if you and I yawn while we're
I want to yawn. I'm stifling a yawn right now.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. You did it. You did it.
I did it. I yawned.
And now I want to yawn.
I did it.
But isn't it weird? Like you see other people yawn, or even by yourself. As I was writing this, I was yawning as I was reading about it. I couldn't.
Weird. What is wrong with us?
Yeah. And about the only thing they came up with is, it's not, there's a little bit of like controlling brain temperature with yawning, like maybe the temperature of the brain goes down. Like I say, the lack of oxygen hypothesis has been disproven. They think maybe the social empathy, like you're mirroring somebody when you yawn, when they yawn. And then there's a brain activation hypothesis. And that is, they seem to see more neurological activity after somebody yawns. So if you think about, usually we yawn out of boredom, or we yawn when we're not really, we're tired, and we're trying to wake the brain up.
Yeah, because we're aware that we're tired usually when we yawn.
Right. And they say that maybe yawning, and they don't really know why, it may have something to do with a release of hormones, or somehow it stimulates the brain.
Just to keep us going a little bit.
Right.
But also to say to everybody else, I'm tired.
It's time to go
I'm going
home.
down soon, but I'm trying.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating? But they don't really know. They don't really know why we yawn.
Well, I just think it's to let everybody know it's nap time. Nap time's coming. So get your shit done, everybody, because we're all going to be napping soon.
Yeah.
I like it.
It is a cue, like if you're the last person at a party and your host is yawning, it's time to wrap it up.
Yeah. If you're the third last person at a party, it's time to leave. Nobody wants you there anymore.
Yeah.
You're here. I'm going to tell you what your friends don't tell you. You're overstaying your welcome. Get the fuck out.
They're yawning for a reason.
Yes.
They're yawning for a reason.
Be nice, but they're not excited to have you there. Nobody wants you there. Yeah. Go home.
It was good. It was good at the beginning. It was good a few hours before, but now
it's time to go.
Yeah.
Have you ever known somebody who yawns to kind of show that they don't care? Like they use it as a way to kind of send a message to you that they're unimpressed?
Yeah, that's another way people do it, I think. It's
like they yawn to kind of show that they're cool, or that they're above you, or that they're
bored. It's a way of saying I'm bored.
Yeah.
I'm bored. And I'm like, well, who are you?
Yeah. I'm not interested. You're not interesting enough for me.
Yeah. Interestingly, though, they do find people like athletes before they go out to like compete, or even paratroopers, they've noticed before the first jump will often yawn.
Yeah, I've noticed that when I perform.
Yeah.
I'll kind of yawn, and it sometimes freaks me out. I'm like, oh shit, am I getting too tired to do? And then I'll go out and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But sometimes
that's the whole thing. If you think about it as a way, possibly yawning being to activate the brain, it's like you're preparing yourself to go out there and perform and kind of give a little jolt, almost like caffeine or something to your brain.
Right. I just stifled another yawn, by the way.
I know. It's amazing. I want to do it right now. Like I'm fighting it. Oh no. All right. Well, we've come to the end, John. You and I have both been yawning.
Yeah, it's time for us to take a little power nap. This is human number 2 signing off.
And this is human number 1. Thanks for joining us, everybody. If you enjoyed this podcast, please tell a friend about it. And don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Substack.
And our website.
And
we're over 5,000 downloads, everybody. Way over.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. You guys did it. You did that.
You did it.
Yeah.
And me, I keep downloading under different accounts every night just to...
Well, as long as I just look at the numbers. I just look at the data.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm off to take a nap and think about me, Jesus, Mark Twain, Cher, and if possible, Vincent Price, all pigging together in the middle.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm going home to pig. Whoever's there is I'm going to be pigging with them.
All right, everybody, we love you. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, John. Love you. Talk to you later. Bye.